Stanley, Jason Anderson, yeah, James Peterson, and Caroline Piercy. Caroline, yeah, Piercy. Okay, and then myself. You gonna read the minutes?
What? Oh, yeah.
Terry will be late, maybe. She may not even make it here, but she'll try to.
Okay. Katie's in Oklahoma, so. City Council meeting August 6, 2018. The meeting was called to order by Mayor Charles DeWitt at 7 p.m. Council members present were Terry DeWitt, Jason Anderson, Maggie Peterson, Kim Stanley, Kenny Arnold was absent, James Peterson, maintenance, Caroline Piercy, city clerk, were present too. Guests, Katie Black, Jack Miley, David Doe, LaDonna, and Laura Anderson. Charlene asked Caroline to read the minutes from the July 2nd, 2018 meeting. Caroline read the minutes. Terry made a motion to accept the minutes with corrections. Kim seconded the motion, passed 4-0. Council looked over the bills while I read them. Terry made a motion to accept the bills for pay, and Kim seconded the motion 4-0. New business, well contracts. Terry made a motion that we go into the executive session at 7:20 until 7:30. Jason seconded the motion, passed 4-0. Charlene asked everyone to step out for a few minutes. Charlene called the meeting back to order at 7:30 p.m. Jason made a motion to sign the contract with Cole Brothers, and Terry seconded the motion 4-0. Lori Anderson asked council if anyone objected if she used the city alleyway to park the school bus in her backyard, and if it was okay to park it on the east side of the street during the day. Council had no problems with it. Katie Black's water bill. Katie said that she would like to discuss her water bill, but would like to do it in private because it was personal concerning another person. Council agreed to talk to Katie later. LaDonna was at the meeting to talk about the findings from the luncheon we had. She brought a list of things the citizens of Beverly would like to see done. LaDonna also told the council about some grants available to help the city or individuals that needed repairs on their homes. She would like to have another meeting sometime after church. The county is starting another leader workshop. She asked if anyone had a high school or junior or senior that would be interested in doing it. She said that it was all paid for her grants. David Dole came to the meeting to talk about a new siren for the city. The county is taking over the control of the sirens, and they would like to put in some new ones. David said because of not everyone getting notified the night of the tornadoes, they felt a need of a central location for control of the sirens. He was asking if the city would be willing to pay $300 annual fee for new sirens. Westar will put up a 50-foot pole to put a new siren on. He said that he didn't know tonight where they were going to be relocated, the sirens, but the city can make that decision where they want it. The city owns it. Council asked several questions about the cost and the placement of the siren. David had brought a paper on the project. Terry made a motion to pay the $300 in 2019, but only if they get the grant. Kim seconded the motion, passed 4-0. Jack Miley was talking about the time it took to refill the tower, and it was going to make our fire insurance go up because of our water. He said that we were about out of water. Terry asked James about it. James said we do not have enough water to flush the hydrants right. James said it takes about $1,500 to $2,000 to do it right. Jack thinks the council needs to walk around town and see what needs done. Jack said we need to write another letter to Kime. Minneapolis Police Department over year payment went up from $50 to $75. We have so many old tags, you have to buy 150 at a time. Council suggested that we use old tags. Charlene said that we needed to take care of Katie. Terry called for an executive session at 8:15 till 8:20. Charlene called the meeting back to order at 8:20. Old business. Playground equipment. Council was asking if the equipment had been ordered. Caroline said yes. They discussed the weight and how they were going to get it off the truck. James suggested that we ask crop service if we could use a loader. We should ask businesses if they would help with the park. Dangerous Structure book. Caroline found this book on the League of Kansas Municipalities book. Thought it might help us. Council had a discussion on the ordinance and on the old buildings. James discussed the ordinance that we had, and we need still to get a compliance officer. 2018 Standard Traffic Ordinance. Jennifer asked that I order these books so we could get our court system started. 3 books stay in the office and 2 go to Jennifer. Jack's award. The City Council presented Jack Motti with an award for his knowledge of the history of the city and helping us when we needed it. Belle Terrell's camper. She She has stayed in it longer than is allowed without hooking to water and sewer. The council said to send her a letter with the ordinance on the trailer. City clerk's report. Budget for 2019 is finished. The taxes are up a little bit, but not much. It will be in the paper this week. Bills to pay, $18,902.99. Terry asked about the expense. I told them it was the playground equipment and the water loan. Council discussed the bills. The council felt that I should not make any agreement with anyone on paying the water bill, that they needed to come to the council meeting and sign an agreement on paying their bills. I sent letters to Billy Robinson, Richard Lee, and Kine to take care of the property. Council asked me to ask Steve Ryan if he would be interested in selling his property. Kim said that her and her family was going to put a roof on Kenny Crowder's house. City maintenance report. James said it took him from July 17th to August 3rd to get the water tower filled. The line was never below, the line and the pressure was never below 22 pounds of pressure. We still have iron and magnesium in our water from 50-year-old lines. James talked about replacing the water meters that are over 10 years old. Terry asked him what it would cost. Terry and James had a discussion on the subject. Terry asked James about the roads and if he was working on them. Council also talked about Richard Lee taking care of his property. Announcements. Charlene read the announcement budget meeting August 20th, 2019. Charlene told the council next council meeting was on Labor Day and asked the council for another date. We could have it on September the 4th or September the 10th. The council picked September the 10th. Adjournment. Terry made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Jason seconded the motion, passed 4-0. Charlene adjourned the meeting at 9:10 p.m. City clerk. Any additions, corrections?
Some spelling. Gotta watch your spelling.
Huh? Yeah.
Just your spelling.
I'm gonna have to retype it. I already read that when I did it. So, sometimes it's kind of hard to get through those.
Don't you have correction?
Yeah, I do. And it corrects it sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. So I go back through and realize that some of it's just using the wrong wording.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
I'll second it.
Jason made a motion to approve the minutes. Kim second motion. All opposed, vote, right? Well, whatever.
Okay. There was city budget meeting, August 20th, 2018. The meeting was called to order by Mayor Charlene DeWitt at 7 p.m. Council members present was Terry DeWitt, Kim Stanley, and Maggie Peterson. Caroline Piercy was also present. Charlene asked Caroline if she would like to go over the budget. We went over the budget page by page. I told them that I got as close to last year's taxes as I could. Last year's was 16.254 and this year is 16.256. Terry asked about the trash funds. I explained that we only charge $16 for service and we paid Lincoln $15.85 to pick it up. There's also several people that do not pay the tax, so that takes away from some of the money from the city. Terry made a motion to accept the 2019 budget. Kim seconded the motion. Passed 3-0. Council members present signed the budget. Terry made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Maggie seconded the motion. Passed 3-0. Meeting adjourned at 7:45.
Anything on budget?
I approved the budget meeting wrote.
Maggie seconded. All raise your right hand. 3-0. Okay, the bills.
I just left them all with you. I tried to do it a little different, kind of from some of the things I read off of his, but I'm not sure I got it exactly right. So, but I kind of changed it, like what we put out of general funds and office expenses and water expenses, the park fund, maintenance, refuge, our debt expenses, and debit expenses, and then wherever the amount of money that came in each thing, like water, sewer, refuge, Kansas state tax, interest, POP, settlement, and our park fund, and then our general fund, and then what West Star, Kansas state gave us, and Kansas, that's supposed to be gas. Kansas gas. And then that's our bank balance as of 8/31 for debit, and then our CDs, and that's our total balance. Total expenses is at the very bottom for everything. Does that make it any easier for you, or is it more confusing?
I've seen some, that Harlan Clark, who's that for?
The what?
Harlan Clark. Up there under office expenses. Is that for
Oh,
checks?
that's checks.
Oh, okay.
Checks I bought,
Okay.
ordered, so we can pay bills.
Those are expensive.
They are, they're very expensive.
That's for 100 of them.
Our total income is $143,186, why is our bank balance only $19,000?
It's because we paid $121,503 out. It might be, I might have something in here that the bank hasn't come through the bank yet, because my statement comes, you know.
Hopefully.
You'd have to really ask him. I might have made a mistake adding in what we started with. Would that be wrong?
Well, what's that Kansas Bureau of Water, or KDHE, 98,631 paid to them?
What?
KDHE Bureau of Water,
That's what we paid the wells off.
No, you wanna,
Our settlement, we paid the wells off.
okay, I see where the settlement's in, okay.
I have a question on the phone bill.
What?
Do you have internet here? Okay.
It's
I
good
didn't
dollars.
think- I didn't think you had internet. I was wondering why.
Yeah, we have internet, and of course that's any of your, faxes too that come through.
Now, where we got that settlement of 108,347, and then we paid out of that 98,631. That's about $10,300 difference. Where's that at?
It's in the account.
On paper?
Well, it's on the statement.
Where?
I'll let you see a statement. I'll give you a statement, please.
Yeah, because that brought us up to 19,000. That means we only have 9,000 in our bank account.
Wait a minute, I got it. Just had it out so quick. I'm being honest with you. I can't do too much.
So it just hasn't got put on this,
What?
it just hasn't got put on this month's here, the sheet we're looking at now.
That should be on here.
I see that we got the settlement. Okay, so that's just bigger damage. Okay.
You're all welcome to look at the, actually, you're supposed to be looking at it. Of course, the swing, the playground equipment and stuff all came out of, the account this time. too.
Yeah. And then we're hoping they're gonna get some grants to soften that a little bit.
For what? Playground? We already got $5,800 grant. We got $5,800 grant. We got $2,000 from the community club, and Wilson State Bank donated us $2,000.
And the city of Beverly gave $2,000.
And who?
City of Beverly, didn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's required by the state. It's required.
any other questions?
Is there a way, when you do this, to, like it says post office, and it says what it is office, that you can put what is bought?
Itemized,
Yeah,
What, like in the office?
in all of it.
Well, post office water samples, and then post office got office supplies.
Well, the office for $50 is stamps. And the other Dollar General is, I bought pins and stuff like that. But I see what you're saying, you want them each itemized out to what I'm purchasing?
Yeah, but, I mean, like, at CNS, to bill there, it would be nice to see what, if you have a $400 bill, what exactly that was spent on.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, you gotta speak louder, man, I can't hear.
Well, like, when you go to the gas station and we get a bill,
Yeah,
if we knew exactly what that bill was, like him buying batteries or,
oh,
Tire service, gas, diesel.
yeah.
An itemized statement.
diesel, he bought a Group 13 battery and oil. That's what was on the
What,
bill.
what's a group 13?
Ask your
That's a
husband.
battery?
That's the battery for the grader.
Okay. Well, is there a way though to put what all of those cost?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I don't know if would it be easier to itemize it or just photocopy the receipts? Well, I mean, person can put so many on, I don't know.
That, when I was on the council years ago, that's what, when we went through the bills, that's how it was done. There was a stack of all the bills, and the council could look through
oh,
the actual
Yeah,
bills.
yeah.
So if we had any question, we could just look if we chose
Right,
to.
all the receipts and all the,
They're all right here. Awesome.
Okay.
so, I mean, that
Yeah,
might be
that makes it
for
easier,
you
okay.
and for everybody. So like the ticket from CNS will be itemized out on that ticket for, prices and what everything is, and that way it will look quicker, smoother.
Anything else?
I make a motion to accept the monthly balance sheet for the month.
I second it.
Motion, it's been made and seconded, all approved, raise your right hand.
Okay.
Three,
Yeah.
three, nothing? Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, we'll go with Craig, you're next.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna start with with the actual audit report, so I'm not sure how she had these bundled with you, but
I gave them the drafts that you gave me.
yeah,
so-
this would be the cover letter here of the actual audit report, and that's where it would begin. So there's just a couple things I want to touch base on in this report. I'll let everyone get there, but while you're bringing that up, I do want to point out, I know some new council members, what our responsibility as auditors are. Basically, our responsibility as the auditors, we're to give an opinion on the financial statements. You know, we're not here to consult or, you know, about that. We will make recommendations based on this audit, what we do, but it's management and the council's responsibility for internal controls. So our job is primarily just to give an opinion on this financial statement. So I wanted to just be clear what our role is in this matter. You go to, it's not paged, but it'll start with an independent auditor's report. Did you find your, yeah, inside that packet. And this is where we actually give our opinion on the financial statements that you see in this packet. And you have to go to page 2, so it's the second page of this letter. And the first paragraph is titled Adverse Opinion on U.S. GAAP, U.S. Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. That basically just means that under GAAP, there was a material deficiency, and that's because each year the council opts out of GAAP and chooses the regulatory basis of accounting, which is different than GAAP. So the opinion that matters is the one that's titled Unmodified Opinion on Regulatory Basis of Accounting. And in a nutshell, what that says is that what you see here in these financials is fairly stated, and we agree to that opinion. So really, there's a lot of words on here that that it can be pretty confusing. But the main thing is that we say that these financials are materially stated in our opinion. We'll get into some of the corrections that were needed to make these a material statement. But as far as that's concerned, that's all I really wanted to point out on the cover letter. As we get to, go to page 4, and this is the summary of all your accounts. Now, one of the things I'm going to be bringing up a little bit later is a statute that basically tells you, and I kind of got a little gist of that in your discussion earlier. This statement is kind of what you should be getting each month. And that's not just me telling you that. That's a Kansas statute that says that your funds need to be kept with the fund balances. So in other words, if in a general fund expenditure, special highway, water, sewer, whatever the expenditures are, they should be kept in these funds. And you should have an update that looks somewhat like this, could look like this, that gives you an idea of the revenues and expenditures each month, and then the fund balance after each month. We'll get to that in the deficiency letter, but I wanted you to look at what that looks like and what really the council should be looking at each month. And this will tell you basically, your overall financial picture. And then as you see down here, this portion right here, this is where it ties back to your actual cash that you have in the bank. That comparison is a necessary control per Kansas statute. So I wanted to just point out a couple of things on this. There wasn't much change from the previous year, by the way. And again, we're already 9 months past this end of year, so this isn't real conducive about any kind of planning. This is basically just showing at the end of this year the financials were correct. You'll notice a column called encumbrances and outstanding payroll. Before you get to the ending cash balance, there's an amount in there. There's an amount of $4,836. I wanted to explain what that was. An encumbrance in general is kind of like a payable. It just means that at the end of the year you would owe that amount, and it has not yet been paid. That's essentially what that is. That money has to do with the payroll liabilities. And we noted this last year. There was a deficiency in the payroll that the reports were not reported correctly, so there was not enough money paid into the federal government for the payroll liabilities. That has been corrected. I have noted, and we've already checked that. And it has been paid, but did not get paid until after the end of the year. That's why there was an amount in there of undue liabilities. But that has been rectified. We'll go ahead and turn over to the note disclosures. And this is basically the notes that talk about the financial statement that I just showed you. If you go over to page 7, one of the things that we have to check is we have to check that your funds in the bank are properly secured. FDIC secures you up to $250,000. So basically, your bank balance was covered by FDIC insurance. There was note 7 on page 7 is there was a fund a budget violation, and what that means is expenditures exceeded the budget in the water fund. So we did note that here. And note 8, under subsequent events, I heard you guys talk about this before, but basically we just notated that the KDHE loan was paid off in August. So we did check that. We did check the documentation of that to confirm that that has been paid off. So as you flip over to page 8, you're going to see the debt at the end of the year. And obviously at the end of the year, that KDHE loan still existed. And we just noted it as a subsequent event, which means after the end of the year that got paid off. So this debt schedule includes the KDHE public water supply loan, but now, of course, that's been paid off. So I just wanted to point that out to you when you're looking at the total debt of the city. If you go over to page 9, page 9 is just a summary of expenditures. Compared to the actual budget. And so really what we're doing here is we're showing if there is a budget violation, we'll notate it here. As we mentioned earlier, the water fund expenditures did exceed the budget, so you see a positive number on the right-hand side of page 9. All the other funds were within budget. And then starting with page 10, you're going to find out the detail of the individual funds. And there's not much I'm going to go over, but there is a couple of numbers that kind of stood out to me that I wanted to cover with you. So as you look on page 10, you'll notice the top part is the revenues, the bottom part is expenditures. You'll notice on the expenditures under salaries, wages, and benefits, there's obviously a large number change from the previous year to the current year. I did want to point out that the overall salaries and wages did not change. But how it was recorded was a little different. The salaries and wages were recorded in the sewer fund the previous year, and they were put in the general fund this year. And this is taken directly off of the QuickBooks record. So I wanted to kind of point out that large jump in case you had any questions about that. If you turn over to page 14, this is something I'll notate here in just a minute also, but if you notice at the refuse utility fund, the revenues were slightly less than the expenditures. And so I kind of wanted to point that out because you wouldn't expect that to happen. So there's a couple of things that could have happened to make that like that. It could have been a posting error because when somebody pays a utility bill, she has to manually input that. If they're not correctly posted under the refuse fund, there may not be enough money going into that as actual revenue. What I will tell you that as part of the audit, we do audit procedures that check the utility revenue to see if we think it's correct, basically based on your number of customers that you have. And overall, the utility revenue we felt was materially correct. What we think happened is probably some of the water revenue or some of the sewer revenue did not get posted in the right place. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to make this amount in this fund a negative balance. Well, not a negative balance, but obviously the expenditures exceeded the revenues. But I just wanted to say overall the utilities fell under our expectations. So if you go over to the sewer fund on page 15 and the water fund on page 16, if you've been on the council long enough, you remember there was a rate change in the middle of the year 2016, And so you would expect an increase in revenues in the sewer and water, which you do see. And that's because in 2016, it would only be a half year for the rate change. In 2017, you'd have the full year of that rate change. So that's kind of your jump in revenues. And again, some of it might be misposted. It should have been in the refuse fund. But that's the jump that you see from that rate increase. Unless anyone has any questions on the financial statement, I'm going to jump to the management letters. So there are two letters, and I want to make sure you guys are on the right one.
Here's the other one up here.
They're not titled, so yeah, the significant audit findings, that's the letter that we'll start with. This is a letter to the council that basically, it just lets you know if there's any major problems, like did we have any disagreements with management, did we have any problems performing the audit? We did not. So the main thing on this that I want to point out at the bottom paragraph on the first page, there is a paragraph about corrected and uncorrected misstatements. Now, I've handed you the adjustments that were needed to prepare this financial statement. And so you'll see that it looks like this. And the reason why I wanted you guys to look at this is because I wanted you to understand what we had to do to get these financials into a form that was materially correct. And I'm not going to go over these. What I am just going to point out is there was a lot of adjustments that were needed to properly classify revenues, expenditures, and they were misposted. There were a few bank transactions that were not correctly put into QuickBooks. A lot of these are small, but some of them, were just obvious mispostings that I had to correct, otherwise you wouldn't get a good financial statement. We wouldn't be able to issue a good, clean financial statement report. So I wanted you to give an idea of the type of corrections that are being needed right now to give you guys the information that you need to properly see what is, being run through these funds. There's a lot. I don't have anything specific to tell you about them. A lot of them were just simple mispostings. Revenues posted as expenditures. Just, things like that, we only corrected things that were obvious, and we also wanted to properly, put things into the right category as far as presenting here on the financial statement so it's easy for you to read. If not, it would have been very difficult to get a good financial report on that. So I wanted to point that out as a deficiency on that first letter. Now there's a second letter here that should be either attached to it or separate. It's going to look just like this, and the first underlined heading is ineffective controls over financial reporting. This is where we kind of run through the deficiencies that we noted during the audits. So this is kind of the important letter here that I want to talk about. Okay, if you've got that here, find yours.
It should be one of those there. Second thing, maybe there's two of them together. Stick them together.
All my papers are jumbled right now.
Oh.
Okay, so the first, basically what we do is we summarize any kind of findings that we had, any things that we can do to recommend to help the city council improve their internal controls. So the first thing in the ineffective controls over financial reporting, this in a nutshell basically just says that we helped with the financials, put them together, and that's an automatic deficiency. And obviously you saw there was a lot of corrections needed to get those financials in the order that it needed to be for us to give a clean opinion on those financials. So that was a deficiency. I've already kind of touched base on the previous letter, so I won't go into any of that. The lack of segregation of duties, we've pointed this out since we've done this audit. And obviously with a small city like this, you're going to have difficulty with a lack of segregation of duties. So the only thing I can really recommend when I'm talking about that, is to give you, a couple suggestions that we audit other small cities that have only one clerk. That in itself is a control deficiency, but the council can do things to help improve those controls. Right now, I say it is a fairly major concern as far as what we would be suggesting. And the reason why we would is because I do see that you get a list of expenditures, but to have proper controls for the council to have oversight, I showed you the report that you should be getting each month that shows the revenues and expenditures and the total fund balance, and that should match the cash balance, what's in the bank. When there's only one clerk, we feel like somebody should be looking over the bank statements, possibly doing a spot check on the expenditures that you see on the list, to make sure those are the expenditures that are being run through the bank. Those are kind of bare minimums that somebody should be looking at. We also feel that there should be somebody looking at the bank reconciliations. If the bank reconciliations are not being performed correctly, or there's things on there that are really not outstanding, like there are outstanding checks that are really not outstanding, or outstanding deposits that are really not outstanding, those things should be cleaned up, and somebody from the council or outside of the council should be checking that.
I know one time years ago, I think they used to have a treasurer position and stuff, years ago. I don't know when that all ended, but
Yeah.
I've seen old postings and stuff that said who council members were, and then treasurer and different positions appointed to certain members.
Mm-hmm.
And, but like I say, that could have been 80 years ago too.
Yeah, well, I think you guys have a decisions to make. Now that you are not required to have the audit because of the KDHE loan, I think that was a requirement from KDHE. So, I understand that you don't need one. So the decision is how much risk you're at as far as your financial records goes, because these are public funds. They do need to be protected by the council. So is our recommendation, about the controls. That's basically what we have in place for that. The next one, the fund balance report, I already mentioned that. I will just say,
And I'm still in meeting. I'll see if I can get it, okay? All right, bye.
I will say that the report that you get as far as the expenditures are concerned are okay, but they're really not a sufficient control over what you should be looking at. The records are being kept in QuickBooks. Really what you should be getting is a QuickBooks report showing, the revenues and expenditures flowing through there. But one of the issues is because you saw how many corrections were being made, you're probably not going to get accurate information if you see that report. So that is a concern of ours. You'll have a decision to make whether you think that you can continue on like this, if possibly you need to outsource some of the accounting functions. That's something that I think that you should consider, because I think you are at risk for these internal controls as it stands right now. There's also a section under bank reconciliations. The bank reconciliations were performed. However, many times they were not accurate. There were items on that bank reconciliation that did not exist. And I'm not sure if she understands enough how to clean those up or not. So again, that's something you guys are going to have to consider, if some of this needs to be outsourced to get the books back into a point where you can look at reports and trust it.
Basically like hiring an accountant.
Possibly, it's I do some limited things, and I'm not trying to, get you my services or anything, but what I'm saying is, somebody could come in, make adjustment recommendations, and be able to produce a report out of QuickBooks that ties to the bank that you can trust. And then, I prepare the fund balance report, which I showed you, in the audit report, which tells you the revenues, expenditures, and the fund balance. And by statute, that should be happening, just as Kansas statute. And I'm not here to necessarily throw a scare into you, but we've been involved with another city that the state did come in and threaten to take over I don't know what caused that or how that was detected, but I want to say strongly that you need to be following the statutes as protection of the public monies.
What, like the state came in and took over the entire
They didn't take it
government?
over. They threatened to. They said you need to clean up the records and do things by statute, or they're
But
going
if
to
they do take over, what's that entitled?
I've never heard it happening before, so I don't
They
know.
have to do the maintenance and maintain everything, I say they can have it.
That means they control the money. They pay the bills.
Oh, okay.
Recording on transactions. I'm not going to go into this. I pointed it out that there were a lot of corrections that needed to be made to get the financials, and so the recording of transactions, that paragraph there summarizes some of the issues with the transaction recording. We've already been over the water fund budget, that was over the expenditures. As a kind of a smaller note items, there was a few items that we didn't see documentation for as far as expenditures, but that seemed to be just an oversight. That wasn't a huge concern of ours. The payroll liabilities, I want to just say that it's gotten a lot better, because when we first started auditing, there were many problems with the reporting of the payroll liabilities and paying of them. That has been cleaned up, and I think she was on the right track with that. All paid up, and the city is in the clear for any kind of further, if there were any penalties. So I think that worked out pretty well, because I don't believe there was any slap on the hands as far as the IRS is concerned on that. If you flip the final page, there's a petty cash. I wanted to point out, and Caroline, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seemed like the petty cash, there is what I would consider a change fund here that people can come in and pay their utility bills and get change. I think what was happening is this money was coming in, some of the bills were being paid out of the petty cash. And there's nothing wrong with bills being paid out of petty cash, but what is wrong is that revenue wasn't first recorded, and then when you replenish the petty cash, then you record the expense. If bills are paid directly out of petty cash, there is no record keeping of that, and obviously for city funds, that is a lot variance. Finally, utility revenues. This is just my point that the utility revenues looked materially correct overall. We think there still needs to be, there could possibly be some revenues being posted in other accounts that are not for that. And that's because of the refuse fund didn't have enough money going into it according to your postings. But those are the last three were the minor issues. The main thing, the major issues were just the lack of controls and right now at this point, kind of the lack of involvement in the city council as far as understanding the city finances. That is all I have. I know it was a lot. I kind of lost my voice. I talked so much, but. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Well, I mean, if we were to look at, as something discussed later, but looking into getting some sort of an accountant or something, how often does that person need to come in and check things?
Well, it depends on, with doing things electronically, the ones that I work with, they upload the QuickBooks to a portal. I get that QuickBooks, I look at it, and then I basically give them back the adjustments I think they should make, and then I produce a report for the council before the meeting that shows you the fund balance, and then it shows you that I don't give assurance that it's all correct, but what I do is I at least checked that the fund balance matches up with the bank, and that's kind of the minimum thing that I do.
So that would be done on a monthly basis?
It would be done on a monthly basis, and it's not cheap, so that's why it's one of the considerations that you have to have, but you have to also consider, how much risk that you're taking. And this is not a knock, on Caroline. This is actually a protection for not only the city, but also for Caroline from, anybody coming in to say anything that, if you guys aren't checking these things, then you don't have anything to say, like if someone accuses somebody, then you just said, well, I've been checking the banks, we've been checking this, we're confident that everything is running smoothly. If you can't say that, then it's kind of difficult, when somebody would say something like that. So it's a protection for both parties.
Yeah.
For the ones that are handling the money and the ones that are in charge of governing the money. we would consider it, we couldn't do it while we were doing the audit, and if we were to do it, we could never do the audit again. But, it's something to think about. There's probably local people you can get in Lincoln also,
Do you need this back?
I don't.
I
It's-
found mine.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I brought copies too, because I didn't know Caroline made copies for me. Well, I appreciate your time, and no one else have any questions?
No, thank you for
Okay.
coming.
Thanks for explaining everything.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll have Pat still here. Pat,
Yeah, she's,
Sean.
I'll talk to the council about it.
Oh,
when-
okay. Pat, we're gonna take you next.
Fine. I'm just supposed to sign some agreement on my water leak.
Okay, how much can you pay a month besides your regular month?
And I just gave her $100.
Huh?
I just gave her $100.
$100, pay me $100, she still owes two something, so whatever. Her regular bill plus $25 or something
Well,
like
the two something,
I think so. I wrote it on here.
is that counting this month's bill or not?
$195.56 is what you still owe. That's counting this month's bill.
What's the minimum I can pay?
Huh?
What is the minimum I can pay? I'm not a minimum income, I mean, I'm just barely making it as it is.
Generally what they pay is the regular bill and $25.
I can do that, I think.
Okay. So you need to fill it in and sign the paper.
Alright, so if she doesn't come back and change that and doesn't pay the bill, then she'll get shut off?
So I still have to come back and give you,
No, you're
No,
fine,
you
you're
don't
fine
have to
till
come back
next
every
month. You're still fine till next month.
oh, okay.
This is just if you don't come in, then we can shut you, if you don't come in and pay your bill, then we can shut you off.
Cause I had to put new ball joints on my truck. And then I had to help the school stuff.
I know, we all have that too. I've even got one on here too that I gotta do.
$5 for
All right,
ball joints
what-
on my truck.
LaDonna, you're next.
I can wait, I wanted to listen about the wall in the park.
Oh, okay.
Retaining wall, so go ahead with other people, that's fine.
We have a bid there,
Yeah, I know, but I'm just going through it.
yeah.
What's this tax deal paper in there? Caroline,
But
what's this tax paper for?
Jack brought it up and said that he thought the council should look at it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just ones that are back on their taxes. It's always put in the paper every month or every meeting. Who owes what, and who owes nothing.
Got my first tax bill in, I had a heart attack.
Well, he never paid the tax back. I don't know.
$1,500 a year, that's satisfying. Ridiculous.
No, yeah.
What did Jack have to say about it? What did he say? Anything?
Nothing, he just brought it up to me, he said that I needed to show it to council. You know Jack. the people who weren't paying their taxes wasn't helping the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on that list too.
Okay, then I got a bid on the City of Beverly Park retaining wall. Size 16 inches high, 10 inches wide, and 161 long. Total 241.5 square feet. Materials would cost $2663.50. Supplies and tools $187. Labor $1855.50, and the total is $4,706.04. Payments are as follows: total amount of material 25% of the labor down is can't read it right, $463.75, 25% labor. And the remaining amount to be paid upon completion of 3 weekly payments. And then the checks payable to Greg Kurtz, Tesca.
Now, aren't we required to get at least 3 bids before we can make a decision? So do we gotta search out 2 more and compare?
We have another bid, it's like,
It was more.
yeah, it's like $10,000 or something.
Is that the,
Well, I bet you add all those up and it'd be close to that.
No, it's only 4,000.
the
Oh.
Main Street, this
That
Main
old
Street
wall.
side? Okay,
Yeah, the park on the west side,
right,
used to be an old wall there, it's pretty much deteriorated.
okay.
A sidewalk and a mall.
Is this bid include the wall, or just the wall, or the sidewalk?
Just the wall, I
Just the
think.
wall, there's no sidewalk in the park unless it's buried.
Is there a plan? I mean, that was
It's-
part
it's
of what we
buried.
talked about before, as a sidewalk around the park.
Yeah.
Is that still, I mean, that was part of what I,
I bet if a person dug down, there's probably a sidewalk underneath that grass.
There is a sidewalk, there's a brick sidewalk. But he brought the grid in, cause I'd asked him what he would charge us just to do the,
That would be really pretty.
And that's just for concrete or,
I believe he was gonna use cinder blocks.
Yeah, HADOT, those square blocks, that's what he had said the first time when I talked to him,
Yeah.
when we went down and measured it all. It's cheaper than the concrete, he said.
it'd be easy to do.
And
Yeah.
so much for roller skating for the kids.
That's what,
That's what I like about it, their sidewalks.
well, part of what I wanted to talk about tonight was I found a grant from, it's called the Sunderland Foundation, and actually it's, the company is a cement company, an old cement company that was in Kansas City region, established in, the foundation was started in 1945, but the cement company was called Ash Grove, and it was Ash Grove Cement, and it was started in 1909. And this is one of the few grants that doesn't, they will pay a little bit for planning, but they will pay for brick and mortar and cement and stuff, which is hard to find a grant that will actually pay. God, there's a mosquito.
Yeah.
Have a flash water if you want it.
That's right. But, likes my face for some reason. I wanted to talk to you about, we had talked about, you had already gotten bids for some sidewalks in town. Maybe sitting down and go through all the bids we have and coming up with a grant maybe to apply to this company, since they actually will pay for cement and stuff like that. It's a kind of a rolling grant, in that as soon as you get the grant finished, you turn it in and they decide whether they're gonna award you the money or not, so there's no deadlines or timelines like that. So, and I'm not saying don't build your retaining wall, I'm saying maybe we could add it into this and we could just kind of do a big thing all together.
Well, didn't we have him put some bid for the sidewalk on this?
Yeah, we had him do the bid for all of it. I
Yeah.
got the bids for all of it.
So we would have an idea of a budget for the grant, that would be the most important
Yeah.
part. So, like I said, I'm not saying don't decide on that, but if you don't have the money for that, we could throw it in with this and maybe come up with something all together. I mean, it's not guaranteed we get the grant, but at least we could try to apply. Like I said, it's one of the few actual that will pay for the actual concrete and supplies. It's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
a rare grant that I found, hopefully. And I have no problem coming over and trying to work and help whoever wants to work on it and get it together, since you already have some bids for the budget.
Okay.
That's kind of the hard part, is getting an idea of what the budget might be.
Okay.
That was one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, so I don't know where you are about that, but I didn't want to interrupt that conversation,
No,
but.
that's fine.
Maybe we can just find a time to get together and see what you have so far, and
Okay.
of course, they're gonna wanna know something about the town and the history and that kind of stuff. And we can work on that, and maybe I can get Kelly to, I'm not an expert grant writer by any means, but maybe Kelly can look at what we have when we're done, and she would be, I'm sure she'd be glad to look it over and help us tweak it to
Okay.
sound good.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So, but, yeah.
And then there's a grant for Minneapolis too from Jill Hewitt, we can apply for that.
Yeah, I think the deadline is coming
October
up
1st.
pretty quick,
Yeah. I
For
gotta
that.
get done.
that one. So,
Somebody can help him counsel if they want.
Okay. Tell me what to do.
and what were you applying for the G.L. Hewitt one?
I'm not real sure where we're on it. I know we're still trying to get the sidewalks and stuff in, and, it'd be nice if we could get some help with our roads, get some gravel and maybe asphalt or something, get some of our roads redone and stuff. I don't know if they go that far with it, but,
Yeah, we definitely need gravel, that's something we ain't gonna be able to get away from.
yeah. You know, I'm not sure what Hewitt,
Not sure either.
so. I think basically they kind of look for cities that are trying to help themselves, you know, and get things straightened up and cleaned up, so hopefully this year they might help. We've tried before, but.
I'm kind of out this week, I have planned out, but maybe next week I could
Okay,
come over and we can talk about what you got started anyway.
all right.
And on that note, there are two Leadership Lincoln County participants, Katie and a high school student at Aubrey.
Arlene,
Arlene,
my great granddaughter.
Yeah. And I think your class starts this week?
September 20th.
Oh, September 20th, got another week to go. So if there's anybody that still really wanted to do it, I'm sure Kelly wouldn't mind if they still got in the class. I know she sent out materials and stuff, but she would let a late person, so if there's anybody still. I did send something to the principal and
He sent something to me.
test it, and I never got anything back from him, so I don't know if that's not a acceptable reason to miss school, or he just hasn't got time to get back to me, so I could call him and see, but, you know, I know G.L. Hewitt's due October 1st, but this other one could be worked on for a while, it just, you know, but my request from Kelly and to Katie also was that they work on a Beverly project together, and, you know, if they get in groups of 4 and there's some Lincoln people, my preference, since our grant paid for it, is that Beverly it's a Beverly project. So, and Katie understands that, so that, I mean, I'm glad she stepped up to do that, because that will be a
I
nice.
think that would help the HUIC grant.
It won't be in time, if it's due October 1st.
Well, I know, but can I like put it in the,
We might, yeah, yeah.
Reference it.
You could
Mention it
reference
in
that
the-
we have 2 people in leadership Lincoln County from Beverly that are looking at improvements to the city. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just have to figure out how to wordsmith that. Because that's what they like, words, the key words.
The pretty words.
Yes.
Pretty words.
Good word. And I could finish with what I'm doing if you're okay with that. Part of the grant, well, it's really a health grant. I had talked to you about that initially, but part of it I did some research, and it's really hard to research small communities, but I did get the hospital, the Kansas Hospital Association gave me the diagnosis codes for hospital admissions and discharges from the 67423 zip code. No names or anything, I just have numbers and what things were, but hypertension, sepsis, which is just infections, pneumonia, COPD, and cellulitis are the top ones in Beverly that people were admitted for. And the numbers are really low because there were only 39 hospitalizations total in 2017 from that zip code. And that's over the whole state of Kansas, so it doesn't matter if they went to Lincoln or Salina or wherever. Pneumonia was and then I talked to the pharmacy in Lincoln about prescriptions for the zip code, and it was pretty much the same: heart disease, blood pressure, thyroid, lowering cholesterol, blood pressure, blood thinner, and seizures was one of them, and nerve pain. So kind of works together as far as, you know, when we talked earlier about people wanting to get out and walk and have sidewalks to walk on and get out and be more active in the community, some of those things, I'm not going to say there's a direct cause and effect. You don't have anywhere to exercise, so everybody has high blood pressure. I'm not saying that because the numbers are too small to say that. But increasing some of the activity in the community would maybe help some of these health things. So just reporting that out to you guys so you know where that is.
Surprised insulin isn't on that.
No, really, diabetics wasn't on there. Diabetes medications, I'm surprised. So I was surprised too. So I really was surprised. And then I have one more thing, and when I see everybody go outside, I hesitate to even bring this up. But smoking, I know, could lead to some of those things too. But in Lincoln, in the park, at the ball fields, at the high school, at the football field, and at Sylvan Grove at the fair, I don't know if you saw the signs, and at their park, their signs are red instead of this color, but part of our, you know, nobody can smoke inside, that's done. But outside at the parks, and just as some observation, we had some groups go out to the parks and pick up cigarette butts. Not here, but just in Lincoln and Sylvan Grove. Got lots and lots of cigarette butts. Kids mimic what they see, and, you know, my choice not to smoke in front of my kids, and I know the park is a public place, but it really doesn't look good when everybody's out there smoking and the kids are out there playing. And I think most smokers, and you guys can tell me if you feel that way or not, but probably wouldn't smoke around a baby or little kids that are playing anyway. And I don't expect that you can make this an ordinance or a law or anything, but we have put up signs in the other parks, and we are going to Barnard. And I didn't know when you get the new park equipment if you would be interested at all in making the park a non-smoking area, just by the way of signs.
Most of us smoke because we have kids.
I know. That's okay. I'm not here to debate
No.
smoking or not smoking. I know you're kidding. But I have,
Is that something we could actually attach ordinance to?
You could, but then you'd have to enforce it, and I don't know.
I know.
I don't know how you'd enforce it, Jason. It could just be a resolution that the city says we're gonna make the smoking a non-smoking, the park a non-smoking area, and just put up the signs. I have, you know, I don't know how many you would need, I thought your park was smaller, but I have like 4 signs, probably 3 or 4 signs that I could give you guys, and you can drill through these. The reason we didn't put any holes in them is because some of them are put on the fence and some are put on posts, and so we just left the drilling the holes to whoever wanted to do them. So, and Live Healthy Lincoln County is just kind of our committee that we started about 5 years ago to talk about health in the whole of the county. And it's just kind of an overarching, we do have a committee that anybody is welcome to come to. If Caroline is invited to that, just from the city of Beverly. All the cities are invited some way to come if they'd like to. But that's why the logo's on there, because we got some money to do some marketing for that. So if you're interested, I can get more signs, and when the park day is, I can bring them with me.
Yeah, because I mean, I imagine 1 or 2 posted would probably do it, but we're gonna need extras, because it ain't gonna take no less than a week for somebody to rip one down, just because that's,
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
sorry on
I know.
you know, that's.
I know.
Spray paint.
I know.
Kids.
And these aren't, I mean, they're pretty heavy duty, but they're not extremely expensive, so.
sticks
I can
some
bring 3 or 4.
electricity to it.
So. The ones at the Lincoln Park and the Sylvan Park surprisingly, have not been vandalized. And they've been up for, the Lincoln ones have been up for about a year, and the Sylvan ones were just put up around fair time, so. But, you know, if Barnard decides they're fine with that too, then the whole county will have smoke-free parks, which I think is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So, but you guys would have to vote on that, so that's all I have left, and you guys can let me know what you decide on that. Does anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay. I will get with you maybe, this week is crazy, sometime to figure out maybe
Next week sometime sounds good.
Next week sometime.
Okay.
So, that's all I got tonight. Thank you very much for,
Thank you,
Thank
Donna.
you.
and like I said, I thought Jennifer was coming, but I know she's done with whatever she's doing with the ordinances, and
Okay.
she's talked to the judge, I do know that, and they're ready.
And we got the books.
Kelly was gonna bring the code enforcement gentleman that she brought last time, but she wanted to know if you guys are at a point where you would hire someone, or you would, or when you were ready for her to come with him again, and he could give you some more, you know, like what he would charge and that. I don't know what he gave you before, so
Who?
I don't remember his name.
Code
Sorry.
enforcement
I don't think he
officer
gave us a
himself.
price before, did he?
No.
Okay.
What he charged up there, Lucas and Sylvan, or, you know, but.
Well, then I think it would be a good idea for him to come to the October meeting with Kelly again. Because I think she had some grant money to pay him initially for maybe a year, so that would help. But I'm not sure. But I was gonna have her come today, but I didn't know if today would be good, so we just decided maybe October would be better. If you feel that's.
Yeah, 'cause all the ordinances are being
Yes.
rewrote.
And I think
to match.
she's pretty much got that done, so I thought she would be here tonight to present them, but if maybe she might wanna do that in a special meeting, I mean.
Okay.
So, I know Monday she's footballing, so.
Can he enforce the ordinances that we have any better than what we're
Well,
doing now?
you-
Because now we send a letter.
Well, but there's follow-ups to that once you get the judge in place. You know, I can just tell you the way it worked in Lincoln when I was there. If I wrote a letter, if I did an inspection, then I gave it to the city, they would send out a letter and they had 10 days to do whatever, or make an appointment to come before the council to appeal. So, and then I had to go back out in 10 days and look and see if they did what they said they were gonna do, or if they made an appointment to talk to the city council to appeal. And then, once the city council decides it's going to the judge, then they have to appear before the judge. And the judge can extend it and say you can have 10 more days, or you can have 3 months, or you can, I mean, it's up to the judge to decide how much longer to extend it. If he says no, it has to be done in the next week, after that, you'll be fined so much, I don't know, Lincoln's like $100 a day for every day that it's not done. So it gets pretty steep in the fines.
And that just get what's attached to the taxes?
No, I don't know. I think if you don't pay your fines, you go to jail.
Oh,
I mean, once you get the judge involved and actually enforce the ordinances, it's a little bit stickier than, yeah.
Okay, I just wonder, because all we do is send letters out,
well, that's all we can do right now, but if we
and
get
the
a code,
people know that,
Right.
if we get a
You
code
know.
enforcer, then yeah, that's what he does.
Right, that's what he'll do, and then there will be letters sent out that they have to meet before the judge.
okay,
So, and then they'll have to come to court, or they'll be in contempt of court, and, you know, I don't know at what point they throw someone in jail, but, yeah, if you don't pay your fines, they'll put you in jail. I don't know this ever happened in Lincoln for that, but, and, you know, like it's rained the last month. If you wrote some, well, I can remember a house, you know, that was going to get torn down, and we gave them 30 days. Well, then it happened to be one of those years it snowed like 6 inches that year. It's been quite a while ago, obviously, but, so it was kind of hard for her to tear down that house, because it snowed in the month that she was gonna tear it down. So, you know, things like that happen, but it, you know, it's kind of, usually the city attorney, is there with the judge, and they will talk about, you know, what is fair to let them continue, depending on what the story the person might have to say.
I have a question for you. We asked about this sidewalk across the street. We own that property there, and we wanted to put a driveway there for our RV. We was told that it's our property, we can do whatever we want, the sidewalk. I don't think so. I think the
No.
sidewalk, let me finish. I think the sidewalk belongs to the city. So, I wanna know, cause you guys are talking about grants and putting in sidewalks and whatever. I wanna know about the sidewalk on my property there.
Directly across the
Yes.
street here?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, when we talked about grants for sidewalks in Lincoln, if we get the grant where the sidewalk goes, the property owner has to sign that we can use the grant and do the sidewalk in front of there. But the sidewalk belongs to you.
Okay, cause we are willing to cooperate with the city. We just want a driveway so that our RV, we can pull our RV, cause it's, right now, we are tearing up our grass to get in and out with our RV. We're just wanting to be able to drive it up in through there and drive it out.
The sidewalk, I think, belongs to you. If we get a grant and decide to do something different, you would have to sign, I think it's an easement or something, that we can go on your property and put on in a new sidewalk.
But if we sign it, we say, yeah, but, you know, but we want, like.
That's a negotiation to make with the city.
Gotcha, okay, that's all I just wanted to
Yeah.
know, because you was talking about the grant for the
Yeah.
sidewalks and.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know in the governing handbook for the city our size, the property owners are responsible for keeping the sidewalk clear, but the city is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the sidewalk as far as condition.
Oh, see, and I think in Lincoln, if it's in front of your house, it's your responsibility, but it's a bigger size.
Yeah.
So I guess I can't answer that question.
Yeah, and
That would
I
be a
don't know
Jennifer
that.
question.
Yeah, and I don't know that 100% either, but it does mention that governing handbook, that,
Yeah, because we had some areas we were looking at that people had limestone sidewalk, and they were absolutely, no way could you tear up their limestone sidewalk. So that's why part of that just got put away, because if you can't get people to agree to let you replace it, then there's not a whole lot you can do, so. So that's a Jennifer question, but I do know, you know, if there's more private properties along where we might wanna do like a sidewalk that somebody can walk on, they will have to, there's legalities to that on private.
Yeah, but if anybody has a driveway, they're gonna put a drive-in for them. I mean, that's just the way.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that it wouldn't, but
limestone.
you're responsible for the sidewalk, even
Sidewalk,
though
yeah.
it belongs, 8 foot into your yard, belongs to the city. Anyway, you're responsible to maintain it, so, in Lincoln, I don't know about here.
Greg did say when he was measuring this over here, he said if we turn this up, he said he would like to have that limestone.
But if it's my property, then I get to keep it, right?
But if that's what we gotta find out.
Yeah, we should find out,
Yeah.
because I'd like to keep it if it's my property.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say, if they fall on it, they'll sue, somebody falls or gets hurt, it's your responsibility.
Well,
so-
now it is, but it's been
Yeah.
like that for how many years?
Yeah,
So,
So,
I mean,
yeah, I'd
You
say
mean,
it's your
you mean you
limestone.
would wanna keep it if it was tore
Yes, I don't
out?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't want
All that
necessarily wanna
limestone was
keep
put in
that
at one
sidewalk.
time, different property owners.
You didn't wanna
built parts of
necessarily keep the
sidewalk, put
sidewalk,
it
you
in
just
one
want the
shop.
stones that they put in a different.
So,
yeah,
I don't know how
we'll
that
just keep
works.
the stones, but,
Okay,
we wanted to put a driveway there because that's where our RV parks is right next to our Conex.
Yeah.
Because that's where our power and everything is, and it just makes it simpler to pull in and out of there instead of up over the curb. Because either that, or we can find out if we can cut out the curb, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Because
We'll
there's a
have to
curb
check it
there
out.
and then there's a sidewalk here.
We'll check that out.
And that's what we wanted to know. But the way it was worded to me, I won't say where, but how it was worded to me was, do whatever you want. I'm sure nobody's gonna fight you on it. Okay?
Yeah. So,
We'll check it out. We'll get,
that's
Thank
a ways down the road, we gotta get some money.
Well, I know, that's why I brought it up to you, because you were talking about grants for sidewalks and
Yeah.
stuff.
So,
okay.
all right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Ladonna.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, Gino, Carol, Kathy, you guys got
Yeah.
anything else?
Also, I wanted to bring up another thing that I know the council's working on, updating the town so that they can get grants. But my issue is with my bus drivers telling me that she has to drive all the way around because she cannot drive down the road that was graded with the way that it was graded and with all the rain and everything. I wanna know, how come before it was graded, how come we didn't have gravel? Once it was graded, why wasn't the gravel put down to prevent these muddy roads that are being destroyed by the motor grader? Not only my street, but this far street down here. And my other complaint is, and I got blew off the last time because I couldn't be here and I asked somebody to speak for me, and I'm here today, okay? All these weeds that are growing we only got 4 asphalt streets. So why aren't the weeds being contained on the streets? Why are they getting the weeds just growing out and destroying asphalt? We already got to put asphalt in these holes that are here, up there, on your street. So why aren't the weeds being sprayed? They used to be sprayed all the time. And, up here, the weeds are growing, they're growing in the street. How come they're not being sprayed?
They have been.
Well, they're growing pretty green. And we ain't had this issue before, just this summer, they're way out. My street on my side is sprayed, because we sprayed it. I don't have any weeds growing on my side. But I watched my neighbor mow his grass twice already here recently, and mow the street. That's how bad it is across the street from my house.
Well, I know for a fact that some of them have been sprayed, but it also rains.
I realize that it just recently rained, but this has been all summer, and the grass is growing. It's towards the middle of the street now.
Hey Kathy, just real quick, I'm just gonna interject this opinion, that's all. We have had more rain this summer than we have had in the last 5 years. That's probably why we're having such an issue with the weeds. It's just a opinion.
We've had lots of rain. I've been back for the last 2 years now. We've had a lot of rain last year, a lot of rain this year. We haven't had issues with the weeds growing in the street. If you spray it once and it rains, you gotta go back and spray it again.
I'm just saying, like, this month has been nuts.
Yeah,
With rain, like this last
This last
August,
week,
July,
yeah.
it's been can you not throw?
That's just my only complaint, is my bus driver's complaining, she's gotta go all the way around the block to pick up the boys, cause she can't drive down there. And then I'm also complaining, it's not only on my street, it's on Main Street, it's on this street going up here, the weeds growing, breaking up the asphalt. I mean, we only got four asphalt streets, I mean, we're trying to upgrade the town so that we can get grants, but when they come through and they see stuff like this, you know, what, you think we're gonna get a grant?
The way I understand is when he grades the roads, they're gonna be worse before they get better.
But why leave the big clumps in the middle? Why not take the tractor and clean it up?
Half the time, the machinery doesn't even work.
Well, I don't even know where the tractor's at, I haven't seen it in a couple months.
He's in the shop.
So,
I don't know, why can you clean it up with the tractor if the motor grader's not working?
I've been grading the roads, trying to get the shoulders brought up into the middle. That's
And I
why-
see that.
That's why, and if it's not up to your,
Well, it's not up to my standards.
oh,
It's-
then I'm sorry, I'm working on it.
Why
That's all
leave,
I
I mean,
can
I'm
say.
just saying, why leave the big clumps of dirt in the middle of the road? When you could, I mean, why couldn't we just take the tractor and, exactly, not level it, they have, I realize you have to put a crown, I realize that. But why leave all the big clumps in the middle of the road?
Cause in the cars, it does nothing but tear up the bottom end of the cars.
That's all I'm saying is, you know, if you motor grade it, I understand it, and I understand you have to put a crown in order for you guys to raise the ditches, but I don't see why you're leaving big clumps and big chunks of mud, dirt or whatever.
I've been working on it, trying to get them worked in, that's all, I mean, like I said, I'm sorry if it's not how you want it exactly.
Well, I'm not
It's
saying, it's not
I'm
how
not leaving it
I
on
want it.
purpose to upset anyone or to cause any damage.
Well, no, I'm just saying is, if the motor grader isn't doing its job like it should, apparently it's not running very good, then why couldn't you use the tractor to clean up the,
That tractor's not for a lot of dirt work and heavy work, it's not.
then can't the town, contract the work out so that it could be done and, you know, or we just don't have the money to do it?
Well, Terry is supposed to check with, what's the guy, Fort Lincoln, in charge of the road graders, in charge of the,
Mike O'Hare.
yeah. She's supposed to check with him, well, she's not here tonight, so. See what,
Doesn't that guy in Tesket does he own that motor grader that Aquas? I mean,
No, that's the
county.
county.
That's
Well,
county,
that's
okay.
Ottawa County.
Even
Well,
the
that's-
old one.
No,
I don't know what
Ottawa County's got.
Well, I know that brand new one's Ottawa County's, but somewhere down there, somebody's got an old one, almost older than ours.
Oh, well, that Tesket has that.
That's that little one?
Yeah.
But the roads need to be, the shoulders pulled up, yes, but there's no sand or rock for him to work with. And if you really wanna do it good, we just need a bunch of rock hauled in, so he's got something to work with.
And that's what I was saying, I mean, before
Yeah.
we started doing
But,
the
Well,
motor
if
grading, how come we
If
didn't
we end up
have?
holding a lot of dirt and we ain't getting much gravel out of the ditches, which some of these
that's
roads
what,
have
there's
to be
nothing there
gravel.
for him to work with.
Once he gets that out of the ditches and gets that crown, get everything in a row and then get that loose dirt, because the last thing we wanna do is put gravel on it.
Yeah,
It'll just sink in and won't do no good, but if we just load up that loose dirt and use it to fill something else somewhere else, and then that way, okay, we got our ditch defined, our crown, and edges, now let's lay gravel on top of the already hardened road bed. We get that AB3 gravel, which has got clay in it.
And could we get a grant for, our gravel, because Chris is still,
We could put
will
all
haul
that
it
in
for nothing.
We could put that all in for the Hewitt grant and see if, they would be willing to, give us
I
money
mean,
to
as long as
reimburse
Chris
us.
is willing to haul it here for us for nothing,
Yeah.
let's try and get some gravel or rock or something.
Yeah, 'cause
Well, even if he's gotta leave it sit, why couldn't we put some gravel down, like he said, it's gotta, you know, once he does whatever he's gotta do, he's gotta leave it sit or something, or somebody, or Donnie was telling me, well then why couldn't we put the gravel down until whatever, however many days it's gotta cure or whatever?
It'll still
That's
sink
just
the first,
topsoil,
yeah.
it's no good to mix with gravel, you need like a clay base. So basically, whatever we pull out of the ditch, if there's no good gravel in there, that just needs to be wiped off the road, taken, put in a pile somewhere, and then we
Yeah,
lay
I've
on
seen,
top.
I've seen them do it in Ottawa County, it goes to one side of the road, and then the guy comes back the next day, and then it comes back the other side, and then after that, then it's put down, I get that, but I'm just saying, cause that road down there is a mess.
But they're actually working with some gravel they're pulling out. God only
Right,
knows
they're
the last
full,
time
right,
that that's ever
and
been
that's what I
gravel.
was saying, why couldn't we have gravel to start with?
Well, and that's what we need to find out some prices and stuff, because everything that's down there past the Kime hardware store, that deep, and it's all solid gravel. It's everything that came off these oiled Main Street, every pebble of rock is down there. I don't know if it's good to use, I mean, it's
Down where?
where, Richard Lee's been digging that ditch by the sidewalk.
That's dirt.
Oh, no. I was down there the other day with the metal detector, and it's probably 10 inches of gravel, and it's all the gravel that's washed off Main Street when they oiled. I mean,
Anyway, I had Christie bladed and got the humps on the side, worked into the center, and yeah, it is a mess to drive on for a while. It got hard packed, and I bladed it again. It was kind of smoothed out, and then we got a week with 4 inches of rain, and it
Yeah, I
turned
think the
into
timing
a
really killed us
nasty
there.
mess. And I was gonna hit it today with the grader, and somebody's been messing with the road grader. I spent all morning.
I haven't seen anybody over there, but, I don't know.
Well, gonna fire up, or?
So somebody turned the fuel off under the fuel tank, and I can't be for sure, but it was running fine when I parked it before it started raining. And today when I drained the fuel tank, there's this much sludge and sand in the fuel tank, so
Oh.
I'm gonna have to get a locking cap.
It does have a lock on it, though.
No, the backhoe does, but the grader,
They both have locks on it. Well, an issue on that too, you know the guy that lives in that brick house, that alleyways through there? He put up signs saying that it's a private drive through there.
okay.
There's an easement, supposed to be an easement
Is
through
there
there.
an alleyway through there?
That's an alley.
He
Okay.
put up a sign that says that nobody can drive through there.
The
Cause he's been driving her car through there, cause she can't drive down the road, so she has been driving through there to get to our property there.
No,
You
it's
saw
the
And he
this
came out the other day and
Saturday
said for us to stay out of it because it's all private property right there.
As far as I know, the city limits is on the east side of that road, and that's the alley.
Yeah, they had an issue with that
Okay,
guy
that's
when
what
I
I
bought
thought
that
it was, is
property.
the easement for electric company and fire department and police department.
Because he ain't telling
Yeah.
Bobby Woody that,
Well, I will with the sheriff's department.
but that's what I'm saying, that's where Bobby parks.
Yeah, well, that's why I said, the neighbor, where's he supposed to park if he can't use that easement? And he's got it posted at the beginning of, when you turn off the main road, at the beginning of the road, and he's got it posted on the other side of our garage.
I mean, I guess if he wants to hire a surveyor and have it proved,
He's gonna have to,
but the city limit sign is posted on the east side.
cause he stopped and wanted to know who I was, and I'm getting ready to go introduce myself to the sheriff's department and let him know that I came down here and talked to the city council. And I just wanted to make sure it was an easement and an alleyway before,
That's what it's always been.
so it's always been there.
It's never
Yeah,
ever been
as
brought
long as
up or
I can
mentioned or
remember.
anything before, so as far as I'm concerned, it's an alley.
Well, I guess he's had, the previous people that had that property before Gito bought it, I guess he had a discrepancy and did the same thing to them, didn't want them driving through there, and I guess they had to call the sheriff's department and go through all that, so.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it.
Well, we just have to write him a little letter and tell him, take all them signs down.
Now what about the alley there, where Jack Robinson used to live?
He's supposed to have been taking them,
That's
Camera.
moved, that's moved, we just need to get it cleaned out and able for,
okay, I didn't know whether he had.
yeah, it finally got moved about a week ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but after I sent him the letter, he moved everything out.
Then
Okay,
we
well,
need to
then
get that where a car can drive through, because like I say, they contract out, Westar does now, on the meter readers, and he just drives down the rarely has to get out of his, car for any certain reason to read a meter, but he should be able to just drive right on through and,
Well, the fire trucks went down through the alley there behind, Kathy Pelcher's and Rhonda's and last week when they had that fire down there, or that wire at the, by the church. They went down through that alley.
So it's an easement through there, that's what I wanted to know.
Huh?
So where would we find anything, maps or?
That would be at the county courthouse.
Not
I
all
can
of it.
guarantee
Yeah.
that, yep. That'd be at the county courthouse, I had to look that up with somebody else.
Okay.
What was that?
you have to register,
easement.
register a
To
deeds.
see where to find.
To find out if that is an easement, or whether it's an alley, or whether
Yeah.
it's private property.
If it is his, he can get.
Now,
it.
I was
Wants
told-
permission.
Yeah, the thing
Well,
is,
I
that's-
don't think it's his because it's an alleyway. I mean, you gotta have, between so many streets in the city, you have to have an alleyway or fire
It was right under the
department.
plot line, everything
So
else
where
was out.
would it
Yeah.
be? The Ernest's place?
Yeah.
yeah,
He's-
yeah, and see, when, crosses, when they built
Between
that
Nicky's
house,
and,
I don't think they own the
Well,
field and
Woody.
everything, so
And
they can't
Robert
claim
right
that
there,
private drive on the
Joseph's
south
place.
side.
If
Right
it
behind
ends up being
Schrader's.
private property,
Yeah,
he can
Schrader's,
let
yeah.
whoever he wants.
Schroeder's, yeah.
Yeah,
He
we're
can
getting ready
pick
for
and
the next
choose.
few weeks, electricity will be hooked up there, so we're getting ready to
But the
be
thing is,
living over there.
easement means it's
I don't want any problems with the guy,
not
you know,
necessarily
I don't care if he knows who
personal
I am,
property.
you know,
There's
I
an
come,
easement which
I
allows
walk slide in, come home, and
some other entity
I don't
to
wanna
use
mess
it.
with anybody.
Find out.
Okay.
We're gonna have to hurry the mosquitoes biting.
Yeah.
Well, you
They
shut the
are-
door,
They're hungry.
shut the doors.
I think they're all in here.
I gotta go send my babysitter home.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we had him.
Well, if Terry's gonna check into the gravel and stuff, I mean, there's really not much. Can we get how much the gravel and stuff is and
Well,
see
like I say,
what
that
grants we could apply
That
for?
AB3, it's a little on the higher side, I don't know exactly how much, but they put it on South Oakland,
What'd you call that?
AB3. It's got a clay base to it, but it's not like the stuff out on Missile Base Road that's
Thank you.
clay with gravel, this will be gravel with clay. But they put that on South Oakland, and that's been a hard, rock-hard street,
You let me
and
know
there's
if
only
you
been ever a couple small potholes.
I
That
think
thing's
also
hard
they
as a
go
rock,
away.
and it can rain 10 inches.
Yeah, usually if you hold them, they go away.
Really, you shut the door.
see. Good. I'll bring a box to the next meeting.
You get one of them coils.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Citronella candle.
And what is the county improvement program that the girls are in? I only got part of that.
Oh, the leadership?
Leadership,
Uh-huh,
I'm in that as well.
you are?
Yeah, it's, well, LaDonna Reiner, who was here a little bit ago, she actually, involved me into it and, like, gave me the application and everything. And what she's focusing on is there's gonna be a few of us from, Beverly. And she's hoping that, you know, whoever we get paired with, will be able to do a project for Beverly.
You go one day a month,
Yeah, and it's like,
from 8 till 5,
and it's
and you take trips to Topeka to the
state
county,
capital.
state capitol, and see how legislative work, and then you do different projects and visit different, companies in town and stuff like that.
So that maybe Stormy might be interested in that.
Where would she get an application?
The health department,
Health department.
or from Kelly
Kelly
Larson.
County?
Okay.
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 That might give her something extra to do.
Where we at,
She's
playground
homeschooled,
equipment?
so.
Gotcha, yeah,
So anyways, you guys got what I was saying, right, about the,
I'll be heading.
We're trying to
here
improve.
soon,
Okay.
so when they're coming through, or whatever, if they just,
What's your name?
for the grants or whatever.
Okay, mine's
Yeah.
So where are you at on that?
What?
For the playground equipment, or?
Well, it's all been ordered, playground.
It's all ordered, they said that they wouldn't get it, they don't keep the big pieces in their place, so they said they wouldn't get it until mid-October.
She wants a job.
Cause what was the grand total on that?
Like,
12,000,
The grocery store hires.
oh, do they?
$12,934.
Okay, and that, we paid that,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna get a $5,000 grant?
No, that's already in there.
That's why I asked what was the grand total of it.
Oh, no.
Okay.
The grand total that we got, I just added a while ago, was like
But a 20,
$11,000 or something.
Babysitter.
Plus what, well, the city's putting in money.
Yeah.
Supposed to sign a paper.
Did we?
Huh?
Are we still in session?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Probably would've left.
They said they wouldn't get it until mid-October. It'll
Okay.
take them 2 weeks to go through it, because they have to go through it and make sure all the parts are there.
Yeah.
And then they would send them out to us. They said we probably wouldn't get it till 1st of November.
What did they say the normal shipping time was gonna be when you talked to them the first time?
What?
I'm sorry, I was killing a bug. How long did they tell you shipping would be when you
They,
talked to them
they
the
said
first
8 to
time?
10 weeks.
Whoa.
It's a big piece of equipment though.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that they didn't have the equipment in stock, and so they, wherever it's coming from, they have to wait till it gets sent to them, and then they have to go through it and then send it out to us. It might be earlier than that. I'm just wondering if she met mid-September instead of mid-October.
Yeah, 'cause I imagine it'll be all in one truck, and that's gonna be
Oh,
all that's in
okay,
it.
thank you. And, so I'm hoping maybe they're wrong, and it might come a little bit earlier. But the other thing I thought about is maybe we could go ahead and do the park,
Groundwork.
you know, the ground and stuff like that, and get it sprayed and stuff. The church is having their annual picnic the 7th of October down there, and we really need to get those stickers and stuff out of
Yeah,
there
but we
before
can't do
the.
it all at one time, I mean, you know, we can try to get the stickers out, but
Well, I think while those stickers are still blooming, it's still too early to spray. I think we gotta do it later in the fall.
Yeah, but,
Well, I could hit it with, and I got some chemical to spray the park. I have a pulse sprayer I was gonna use.
Right out of the air.
With working on the grader, working on the roads, mowing, doing other things, and then timing of rain or this or that, I
Yeah.
haven't got it done.
he
That's
has-
my fault.
Well, like I say, I think in a lot of cases it's too early yet.
Well, I can burn it down with 2,4-D right now, and that'll kill any broadleaf that's there. You know,
We need an interest.
for the cost, it's not gonna be that expensive each time we spray it.
Yeah.
If we gotta spray it twice or 3 times to get them all, so what?
Yeah.
But it sounds like I need to be spraying the streets instead of the park. Keep people happy.
You're not gonna make everyone happy. You need to make council happy.
so if I hear, they're supposed to call me when they're have it ready to go our way, send it to us, so.
Okay.
And that's going in that already, where's that going at?
Huh?
we haven't decided that part yet, I don't.
Coming up, what are we gonna do with it?
No.
Where does it go at the park?
Should we
This
start
side?
pulling up that rubber base and that
Yeah, we're
frame?
gonna do it on the lower part there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to remeasure it out and,
Probably need to remove that basis down there for the old one,
yeah.
cause we'll probably end up putting
And-
new or,
The church has another meeting yet, but the church offers, one of their offers to help us was to go in and redo the park and reseed it and everything for us.
That'd be awesome.
So,
Yeah, but they won't do that till after their meeting, or after.
well,
their-
no, they're not gonna tear it up for the,
It'll be spring.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, something like that, so. Or you could do it in the winter and set grass down and let it go,
When you need a sprinkler system.
okay?
Okay, you got city clerk report?
I put out 27 late notice as of today, 7 have not paid. And no, they're not turned off because the turn-off person's been ill.
I'll be in tomorrow to town with my surgery. I had 2 major surgeries in one, and now I'm gonna have to go back because I got a broken bone in there. So, I'm not actually supposed to leave the house and not to drive. So I've had to depend on other people helping me out. And one of them is to get to the bank to get the money out. And then I need to know, we would like to move another trailer house in down there. All of our plans, you know, with tearing the old house down, it was one thing, or illness or something. We still want to tear it down, but we want to move in I believe it's like a 16 by 70 mobile home. And it will either be in back of that old house where it would be hooked up to the, water that ran the old house,
So you
And
got
sewer.
a new service there.
or behind our trailer, which we would run it off of our stuff. But,
Well, a person doesn't see how the lots are because it's gonna have to have its own individual address, which means it'll have to be on its own individual lot.
well, the post office has got all that screwed up, the addresses, so, it's just.
Well, that might be a clerical error on their end, but the lots are planted out and numbered, you know, so then once you figure out where that individual lot is, then you put that residence on there, then the post office can assign you a new correct address.
See, because it looks like your other trailer spans across.
Yeah, now it's 301.5 South Murray, and the old house is 301 South Murray.
She just, I'll bet
I don't
she
know
just
about that, like he's
misunderstood.
talking about these lots, they run east and west, and your trailer's north and south, so it's on 2 or 3,
Yeah.
4 lots, I don't know. depending on
So,
how long.
I know the deposit when we moved our other one in was 50.
No, it's $100.
Now it's $100.
What it is, it's a $100 deposit, which is returned to you if you get it in, hooked to water and sewer, and skirted.
Within a lot of amount of time, right?
Yeah,
How much time?
I think it's 30 days is what the ordinance says.
I think that's what we read, it's something to that.
30 days?
So do you deposit that check, or do you hold that check?
We'll hold it.
We hold it.
Yeah.
But
Well, that might help too.
Is that all you got?
You have anything else, Kim?
No, it was just the trailer. And we're only moving it, it's that one Chris Barron's has out, just right outside of town there, in that field.
Have you ever been in it?
Yeah, they've redone the inside,
Oh, they did?
yes.
Did you check it for black mold and stuff?
In fact, that used to be not safe to walk in.
No, it's all been redone,
Covered up, redone, or actually,
covered up, it's
Yeah.
not the black mold like Mark Gebhardt's trailer.
Who was that? The guy that used to walk the streets?
the old dairy down there,
No, that's
outside of
just
town,
west of me there.
just right out by the other well house.
See, that's what yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, no,
Oh,
that
yes.
trailer house is gone, that was,
Oh, that was John Forbonnet.
yeah,
There
it
you
was
go.
south of town.
isn't that the one Gito put in over here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Gito's got it.
Oh, okay.
The trailer was.
Scooby bought it, and then Scooby turned around and sold it to Gito, and Gito had it moved in over here.
Who owns the White House out there? The White House is way back by the river. That property is there, as being just before you go to the,
Woody,
No,
No.
he rented it. and
Old
then
Cunningham place, I think.
It was the,
Somebody bought it.
Yeah, it wasn't
somebody
for
from
sale.
Salina, wasn't it?
Ruggles was the family name
Ruggles.
that used to own it.
it
but
was
they
the
sold it.
Laura Ruggles estate,
Yeah, but they don't own it
and
anymore.
they sold it to Cook's Family Farm.
But it's out of city limits.
no, somebody was just asking me about if people were renting it or what they were doing with it.
No, it's non-livable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Like
no,
The ceilings fell in on the stairs, and it's
Okay. All right.
bad shape.
Okay, you got your report, Mr. James?
I'll go pretty quick. I went to a class on water meters in Great Bend. To just paraphrase and make things quick, our water meters are basically the city's cash registers, what I've learned. When they're brand new, they have a tolerance, you know, a variable where they don't register accurately 100%. Every company company's a little bit different, but they range anywhere from 98.8 or 99.9. You can never get 100% accurate. Well, over time, they're all mechanical, and mechanical things wear out. The tolerances of rubbing together wear out, so more and more water gets through there without being actually registered. So after about 4 or 5 years, these water meters could be up to 10% out of calibration, you know.
To the good or the bad?
Well, it's bad for the city, it's good for the
The
customers.
customer, okay.
Also, there's a lot of water that could be lost if somebody in the house has leaky faucets and it's just drip, 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 drip. That's not registering on their meter. That amount of water will flow through even a brand new water meter without turning it. So, and this isn't hidden secret knowledge, anybody can know this, so people can water their gardens for free.
Yeah.
I mean, and I tested it, I had Maggie turn the hydrant on the side of the house and I was watching in the meter pit. We were getting about 4 gallons a minute and our meter was not turning.
Yeah, you're on one of the new meters.
Yeah, or newer.
Yeah, 2002.
Whoa.
So all the water meters are recommended to be changed no later than 10 years. I don't know the age of any of the meters in town, really, other than some of them
Well, any of
have
them got-
lower gallons registered on them.
Yeah. Anyone that's on the line that got replaced in 2002 or 2003, those all got new meters. The other ones are probably from the 70s. Hell, who knows?
Is there a kit you can get to like refurbish them?
It's more, it costs more than it's worth.
Yeah.
There's a range of meters from $60 up to $500. I mean, we could put a $50,000 system in here that will electronically read every meter in town anytime Carolyn wants to look. And there's computers that'll tell you, oh, from 7 in the morning till 8:30 in the morning is when they use water. This is how much they use, and if all of a sudden there's a different amount of water used, it flags that meter and says, hey, they might have a leak, or if it doesn't ever shut off. We don't need things like that.
Yeah.
It takes me, depending on the weather, 3 hours, 4 hours at most to read all the meters. Well, that's not $50,000 worth.
No.
But I do believe that our meters are outdated, they need updated as soon as we can afford it. And I had a paper, I figured it all up, on the number of services and the number of gallons that I pump up there at the well house versus what we bill for. And there's a pretty big discrepancy there. Now, that could be a leak in one of the mains, that could be a leak in one of the mains and the meter inaccuracies, but this is something that we need to address because, you know, a 10% giveaway of water, that could, I mean.
You say that they range from $60
Right,
on
like
that.
the meters that we have now are about anywhere, depending on how many we buy at once, $50 to $70, somewhere in there. I don't have the exact prices. I had all that stuff figured out. I was gonna present.
So it would be to the city's advantage if
Yes.
every other month or something buy 6, or if we could get a
Well,
cheaper discount of buying 10 and get.
I'm
Yeah.
talking like probably 40 or 50 at a time is where you probably get
Okay.
this.
well, yeah, because they're gonna cost less than the average monthly bill.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, technically, we could take the choke for 1 month and make $15 to $20 a water bill and replace everybody's.
Well,
But
or
it'd be,
if
yeah.
you did it once a year and we'd have about 100 services, let's just use 100 meters. That way there'd be a few on hand or whatever, it's an easier number. If you did 33 a year, that puts us, you know, in 3 years, everybody has a new meter. And then you're good. Or, you know, you could even tone it down to where you do 20 a year. And then after 5 years, you're gonna start replacing
But like you said they start out 98, 99%. What do they say on average for a meter that's over 10 years old? What percentage is it running at then?
It could be anywhere from 80% up to 90%.
You're looking about 10% loss.
Right, and I mean, if 10% on somebody that uses 5,000 gallons is 500 gallons a month that's given away. That's $2.50 a month just for that meter. Well, over the course of the year, that's $30.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, the loss would pay for a new meter on virtually every service in town.
Yeah.
It's something that we need to do, but that's just on 10%, and those are ballpark figures.
Yeah, it all varies.
Now, what would you do with the old meters? I mean, can you turn them in
Let it be scrap.
or just scrap? I don't
Grass
maybe
and
a core
scrap.
charge or something, you know.
I don't know.
The new meters are gonna look nothing like the ones we got, more than likely.
Oh yeah, they'll be identical.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
They don't mess. They've been making them that way for 60, 80 years, and some of these meters might be 40 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can still get Neptune meters just like most of the ones we have for around
I thought,
50 to
you know, like
60
Westar
bucks.
Energy, they got that little code reader, they can just,
We could get those too, but I don't think you need
Yeah,
one
West-
$400 or
Westar.
$500.
no,
Per
no,
meter.
that's all right.
Yeah, Westar Energy, the Fortune 500
Could you
company. we got-
could you possibly say some of the better ones in case you need one for an emergency or something?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah, any of the new ones that are, well, like I say, newer ones. got
even
like
that are
those.
under 300,000 to 400,000 gallon, yeah, that'd be a great backup, but,
We bill $97.
97. So like I said, 100's not far off the mark at all.
No, cause you'll need some backup.
Right, and if you're putting in a new trailer, I had to change out the meter that was in Gito's pit because it was cracked and broke. I mean, it happens. It's, one of these days, we're gonna need a meter, I'm gonna have to drive down to Salina Supply and buy a couple of them.
Did you give me a
Yeah,
rating
'cause
on
that-
the meter you changed?
Cause that other
I
lot,
wrote it down on a post-it note, put it on your desk when I did it.
that other lot with that trailer, see, there's not a water meter in it.
We'll have to put one in.
But I mean, you know, it's got the line where you won't have to do a new line, it'll just be a meter.
Yeah, put a
in
meter
all-
in
yeah.
the pit.
'Cause how much are they at Salina Supply? The same price that you were quoting around?
Yeah, they vary anywhere, a couple, $5 here and there, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what
I
I didn't know,
haven't
like she
called
was talking
Mark
about
down,
a bulk
yeah.
buy online or something.
Well, Blue Book, I have quoted Salina, I called Mark down at Salina Supply and asked him what 20 is gonna cost, or 40, or 50, or 100. Haven't got to that point. I just wanted to make you guys aware of this, something to think about. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, and a meter replacement right now is probably not exactly financially sound, but it's something that in the next year is gonna need to be done, or at least
Some start on it.
something implemented, yes. The other thing, I had Caroline send letters out to have people stop flushing the flushable wipes. It's clogging up the check valves in the lift station constantly, losing prime. It's just a giant mess. I'm spending way too much time keeping that up. It doesn't need to be. Also told her about pit bulls and other types of like pit bull looking dogs, and the ordinance says
Any pit terrier.
yeah, anything
There's
that
one
looks that
that's
way.
100% pit, but she told me she's gotten 3 letters from the city, been going on a year, and she still has the dog.
Is it the little black one down here?
It-
About tried to eat me when I was reading meters?
Chrissy Primos.
Mm-hmm.
Is it,
You know how
has
they
it got
feed
the
it?
wraparound mouth?
I don't know.
Because that's
It
You know how they
was
feed
wide
it?
open the whole time I was reading.
You
the
know how
meters
they
on
feed
stuff.
it? They dump the dog food into the top of the cage. They
It
don't
wasn't in a
make-
cage, it was running free.
No, this is the little one they have in their house.
Well, we'll have to wait until
Oh.
we get over, our court set up, and
It's-
that would be.
But anyway, I had her send a letter for that. Like like I said, I've had issues with, when the city truck's parked over here, people getting in it, leaving the lights on, running the battery down, God knows what else.
You think kids or?
I don't know, I honestly, I don't.
We don't have a lock for that door, do we?
No, the grader, there's no way to keep people out of it, the backhoe, none of that equipment is.
Well, I mean, on the pickup, didn't it have a auto lock on it or something that didn't match the ignition?
It's weird, but anyway, like I said, I drained 25 gallons of diesel out of the grader today and got sludge out of the bottom of the tank. It was running fine last time I used it. I don't know if somebody put that in there, but where else did it come from? It could have been sitting in there, but I never had issues before.
That's just one of them, you can't say
But
either way.
at the same time, somebody did turn the tank off. So somebody had messed with it,
Yeah,
and it's weird that all of a sudden I'm getting sand, gravel, and
yeah.
whatever out of there. I got it cleaned out, went and got more fuel, didn't have time to hit the road again today. Plan is to do it tomorrow, have water sample to do tomorrow also. Mowing is way behind because of the rain. Last week I was out of commission with kidney stones, I apologize with that, but I will be, and I'm sorry for you too. Something I want to present as a possibility, the vandalism in the park. We've talked about security cameras on the bank or the post office or whatever. Why couldn't we get our own little security system from like Harbor Freight? They're $250. You get 4 cameras, a DVR system. We could put it in that shop over there. We could have cameras on our equipment. That way it would answer any questions about if somebody's doing this or
And it
not.
brings it up on your cell phone too.
Our equipment over here?
Yeah. And we could put, a camera over towards the park also.
Yeah, they work, a person's just gotta look, some of those, they say outdoor, but people don't realize when it gets below a certain temperature, those cameras shut down and no longer work for the rest of the year. We had them there at the RV park down in Louisiana, and they're an electronic.
Right, but the ones I have were even below zero.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't had any issues with mine, but.
Is that Bunker Hill set, or?
No, it's,
Well, yeah, that's what that means.
no, it's not Bunker Hill, it's the newer brand that they have since
Oh.
Bunker Hill, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, I think it's under $250. You
Yeah.
get 4 infrared outdoor cameras. Yeah, but the other, and that way, if also the pop machine could be moved over there in front of the shop, a camera could be put on it, that'd keep it out of the sun and keep it not from getting too hot and where it's working all the time.
Could this be something the money made off the pop machine could buy the cameras?
Well, we just donated all the pop money
You
to
just
the park.
donated it
I
all
meant-
to the park.
Right, but yeah,
How much is the camera?
Huh?
How much does it make a month?
Already said,
How much does it make a month?
but
It varies.
we,
It's been kinda bad because it's not been working right.
Yeah.
well, we probably could, but
We
it
took
hasn't been budgeted.
$347.90 in this month, but we also spent,
2 something on top.
yeah,
I think last time I got pop was 160, 155.
So say 100 a month.
I don't know, it's in here someplace. Wherever Dylan's is.
See, I didn't wanna have to dig through my.
pop expenses, 267.51.
Yeah.
Okay, like I was explaining to Kathy,
Pop revenue.
I haven't torn up every street in town all at once. I've done a few, testing them out to see how it's working.
120.
I had Christie Street, a good crown in it. Yeah, it was a mess to drive on for a week.
I just avoided it.
People had to slow down.
Well, yeah, you have to drive this.
And then, after they drove on a little bit, I went back and bladed it again, smoothed it up more, and then I hit it again. And it was pretty dang smooth 2 days before it come in and started raining.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Ready
part
for
of the
this.
problem, you grade all that loose dirt up there, and then it rains, and then they drive on it, and then it dries, and then that's, yeah.
Just a big rut.
And
And
then
it's,
kids think,
you know-
oh, that was fun, let's go down it again.
Yeah,
kidding me?
open
That's right,
season.
tall.
Right
Like-
north of your house.
Open
Yeah.
season.
They're nice, yeah.
Okay,
We gotta see about, is there any way we can get an old harrow?
that's what
Yeah.
Shane Davis down there, he's got a harrow he's been dragging around behind his lawnmower, and it smooths it up, brings gravel up really well, and I talked to, well, I had Maggie talk to, Darlene down at Chris Barron's to see if they had one maybe for sale or laying around, but
She said just not at this time, that they.
if they do, and I can get one cheap, that'll be
Frame rack with
a lot cheaper and a lot faster.
Like an aerator?
Do you think you could, I know,
Is it like an aerator?
Kosh,
Yeah, I might be able to talk to some of these
he's got
farmers.
one, because
dragging a
they
big
used to down
hairbrush
there.
down the road.
We got.
No, that's
one
crop
there.
services.
That was crop
It's
services.
set
I'm
up
pretty
for-
sure they have a bunch
Right
of them
on
down there
over,
that they pull
I mean,
around.
you know.
Or they
Well, we
did.
probably want one, all my tractor that's got some weight,
Oh.
so really,
But we have to put a cinder block on top.
yeah.
Dead now.
But it would smooth that out, and you could probably do the whole town in one day, pulling it with that tractor. You know, Kathy was
Well,
talking
yeah,
about,
even before grading it, just bring that up.
What's it called?
it's a drag harrow. The blade that the city has, the cutting edge hasn't been changed, it's wore down to the bolts. It's almost destroyed the back of the blade. It's been hit, something caught or hit something and bent the living whatever out of it. I haven't used it because it's in such disrepair. I don't have the equipment to straighten it. I talked to Terry Donnelly about it, he said bring it over, he'd give us a bid, but it hadn't been a priority,
And what is this on?
that the blade that goes behind the tractor.
Can you call the county, see if they've got any used ones? Good
Well,
used?
I can turn that blade over,
Oh.
but it's wore down so much that the dang bolt holes, there's no metal left on the
Yeah,
bottom of
okay.
it. So that, I don't know, Terry might be able to weld something on there and put in new bolt holes to where, but I don't know what that'll cost. And I haven't priced a new blade either, but,
Yeah, we gotta have one or the other. Or you do.
yeah, something. That's all I have really. There's countless piles of junk back here and over there, scrap metal and stuff. I think I've talked to you guys before about taking it down and selling it, getting a check from Barron's for scrap metal. I just wanna make sure that it's okay and it's all right by the council, that it's up to my discretion to get rid of some of the junk that we're not gonna use? Or do I need to take pictures and have council approval on
Well,
exact
what is
stuff? Anywhere from broken pipes, old chains, bolts,
We've
railroad
got
stacks.
a problem though with some people wanting, the highest bid, remember?
For the swing set, old swing
Yeah.
set. But
Yeah,
if
but
this is
this
just
isn't-
scrap metal and you're not, I don't know, what are the rules? Doesn't matter,
It's trash.
it's trash.
Yeah.
Trash
Then I don't-
trash it.
Yeah, normally if we have a motor go out or something, it'd be replaced and it'd be hauled down there.
Well, then
Well,
The
it's
only thing
just-
I remember seeing down there that we wanna make sure we keep is that rotary for the smoker.
Right, it's right behind
And
the
then
shed.
I would, keep the tower from the old, whistle, be a good thing to put a camera on or something.
maybe.
You know, it's something good for something, I mean,
Oh,
it's
then,
that
that
three-legged structure.
It's not three-legged anymore, it's just 4 strips of metal, or 3 strips. It's been dismantled.
Oh, it's not, I mean, yeah, I know it's been taken apart, but I mean, is all the pieces there?
I don't know what it looked like before. I wasn't planning on hauling that off, but
I would say everything else. is
like
all done. It's money
busted
for the
busted
city.
meter pit lids that are broken, just,
Yeah, that's
Sure.
trash.
Yeah, trash.
okay, that, and then,
Either give it to Randan or get some money out of it from Chris.
that's all
Say what's it
that's all
called?
I had. Is there any concerns or complaints or issues that the council wants me to address or has with me?
I got limestone rocks in my alley.
That's not that's up to the council, that ain't me.
My gosh, at least I ain't got grass growing in front of my street.
quit blowing grass in, you know.
I have,
You won't have to come down and spray it.
I have
Here's
giant
my-
ruts in my yard.
Here's my thing on the grass in the street, the people mowing the grass would not blow all the grass in the street, and maybe the grass wouldn't grow in the street. I'm not saying
can't
that's
see
what
it.
happens wherever
The
whoever's
weeds,
complaining, I'm just
seed.
saying, that does happen, people mow and they blow it out into the
Or
street.
the wheat trucks coming
therefore,
through,
yeah,
and
it just-
birds, I mean,
Well,
it's
I could
there.
spend 10 hours a week spraying the streets and
And
the
you
ditches,
wouldn't-
and
yeah.
15 hours a week.
I think it's more important that maybe Main Street looks all right.
Yeah, and that's-
I agree.
Well, I sprayed
I
it
think
once.
so,
I
Main
didn't,
Street, I
I haven't,
mean-
well, I haven't gone back and made it a priority, but
I don't think
if you
it's
guys want
growing
me
any
to.
except for maybe one weed over there so far.
I
Well,
sprayed,
that's an
I,
eye-off.
I sprayed all Main Street once and then I
he's
went down
waiting
in
for
front of the park
harvest.
and in front of the buildings we had issues with.
Mhm.
But, you know, it could be a weekly thing that I do, if that's.
Well,
Yeah,
what
I would
about
say, I
lots?
would say Main Street and let.
What about tarring and sealing up the cracks? Spray, get rid of that and seal them up and be good for a few
Oh, did
years.
we get that stuff on the sale?
No, I didn't get it, cause it wasn't on sale.
Well, we need to get it because that one down there by, across from Richard Lee's, down there around the corner, I hit that with our car and we got a heavy suspension cop car. And I swear to God, it broke something. There's also one in front of the station that is
Yeah.
Yes, that'll flip the car over.
vehicle damaging, those two are, so we gotta get those filled.
Okay, well, I can go get some of that stuff. I
And
won't
then
get
one
a
down
pallet.
by me,
I'll
that
just-
one right at the corner
Yeah,
there,
that's what I'm
that-
talking about there by Richards.
and they just put dirt in it before, I'm not mentioning any
I
names.
gotta take all that dirt out and get
But
a
one
solid
semi
pallet.
goes over it and pushes all that dirt out.
Right, for me, myself, with one guy, it's a 10-hour job by the time I go to town to get the supplies.
Yeah, you know what, you do what you can, and if people wanna complain, then maybe they can volunteer and help. You
Okay,
know,
well-
Jack's always talking about volunteering, so people can either volunteer or wait for you, and it will get done eventually.
That
Well, I
dirt
gotta-
down here by the Richard Lee's been digging up,
Mhm.
where's he taking that?
I don't know, I've taken probably 6 or 8 bucket loads
Hey,
down
you
to
want-
the road on the way to the sewer plant.
I do have to say a positive thing on that, whoever, because the other day when it was raining, and water on this side, you know, just runs along the edge of the road, but water on this side was actually going down in that ditch,
Yeah.
under that culvert, in this way, down the culvert and out.
Yeah.
It actually was not in the road for one time, it wasn't pouring rain, but it was enough rain that I seen the water going in that little bit where the curb's coming, it's running down the road and then in that ditch, because it's dug that way, and that's the way it's
It should've
supposed to
been
run
done.
down this road on both sides.
Okay, I talked with, Sean Kime was here.
Yeah.
He said he had an appointment at 7:30, he couldn't stay any longer. I went back there and talked to him. I'm not making excuses for him, I'm just gonna tell you what he told me. His plan is to get that filled in as soon as possible. All of his equipment is tied up in a divorce right now, he said, except a payloader.
Then I guess you can rent something.
He's gonna bring his payloader up, he's gonna call me tomorrow and meet with me. He's gonna take as much of that dirt out of that ditch and do the dirt work for free, he's just gonna take that out and dump it in that hole. Also, the dirt that is pushed up in the burn pile, I told him he can take his payloader down there and
But
dump
he's gonna
all
have to
that.
finish cleaning out that hole before he puts dirt in it, or all he's gonna do is just settle.
That's,
and keep having it.
we can't tell him how he's gonna do it, he can bury
Well,
all
then
that
I guess
dirt in
we'll
there.
get on him later when it makes another hole.
Right, and I told him, I said, well, Sean, I said, I'm not the mayor here, I'm just working for the city now. I said, but when I was mayor, 3-4 years ago, we were going around about that, and you were gonna do it, and it was harvest, and now there's something else coming up. I said, there's been so many complaints, the city's sick of it. The ordinance states,
30 days.
yeah, you're gonna have so much time from when they file this, and it's gonna be $100 a day. And he said, well, I guess I'll have to turn that into my attorney and my soon-to-be ex-wife's attorney, because they won't let him. He said, you guys do what you gotta do.
We can rent some equipment. I mean, you know, I understand people have issues, but and life goes on.
That's what he said. He goes, I'll bring the payloader over, we'll dig up, and he goes, I don't have a truck to haul any dirt right now, it's all locked down.
So if we take the money and we get somebody to come in and do this and do it, then we just send him the bill.
Yep, he said, do what you gotta do, send us a bill, it'll come out of the middle settlement, we'll both have to
Well,
pay for it.
dig up here too,
Well,
at Agnes.
why wouldn't that be a bad idea to use that? I mean, I know there's a lot of wood and
Okay.
stuff in that burn pile there, but
Open that thing up.
it'd be nice to get rid of that pile of dirt down there.
Right, that's what I said, you know, there's, down at the burn pile, there's.
That would put a pretty good dent. And
Well,
like I say, even if he cleared it out and filled it up, it's still gonna settle, it's still gonna have to be addressed later, at later times.
Does he not want all
Well,
the bricks
and-
anymore?
well, that's why I said, aren't you gonna try to salvage them bricks? And he said, well, that had a long time to get what we could, and it's time to fill it in now.
Yeah, because I only know because we have a cistern, an old cistern, right next to our house. When we got a new basement, that was literally right next to our house. So when they dug it out, we had filled it in a long time ago with stuff that we gutted our house and
It
just
was all
filled it in.
void.
Yeah, so now they took out half, and instead of just taking it all out and filling it in with dirt, they took out half, and the other half was still just like packed in there. And of course, they filled all the dirt. Well, now, right there where the rest of that cistern is, I have hole pockets that I have to get some dirt hauled in here, and that's gonna be the same thing with all that stuff he has in the bottom of that hole. Eventually, it's all gonna cave in, because the dirt's gonna settle around all that junk that's still in the hole. It's gonna be the same thing, only bigger magnitude.
Well, I'm just telling you what he said.
Okay. I mean, I think I don't know.
He said he's gonna be working on it, he's gonna call me tomorrow, and
Okay,
I'm gonna meet with him down here, and,
we'll find out.
there is gravel coming up out of these shoulders. There's a lot of dirt too, a lot of excess crap. It's in the middle of the road till it gets hard packed in or hauled off, which I don't have the real capability of doing.
Well, and
I'm doing how I can.
and you wanna build up that ground so then that water does not come on the road and it doesn't wash, you know.
Well, there was a good crown on it. It
Yeah,
rained.
and it rained.
Well, like I say, we need to look at,
But the
he wants to
equipment-
remove some dirt and stuff down there, but there's a base of gravel. Cause I went down there with the metal detector
Right,
last
everything,
week.
you're right, everything that washed down the
In his
street
hole?
ends up down there.
No, where Richard digging
Oh,
the
yeah,
ditch.
yeah, okay.
It's that deep with the gravel that all came off here when they oiled it. Now it's
I
small,
can't hear you.
What are you
small
gonna do
stuff
about
that,
that other road?
you know,
Well,
it's something we might
bus
be able to
there,
utilize.
right on
There's every rock off Main Street sitting down
Believe
there
it
right now.
again, but
Is that,
Yeah.
is that like,
it's up by, Fox's house on the way up to Gebhardt's trailer.
Yeah, that's got a lot of rock in it anyway.
That road has always been rough and a problem.
It probably needs to be, I mean, it's got access off North Oakland. I don't even know why that road's there. I don't know why it has, I mean, because yeah, it'll never be fixed without pouring concrete.
But every time it rains, it brings more sandstone rocks up.
All the ditches are full of dead tree limbs. I could spend a day cleaning all that up.
Yep.
And, I mean,
You'll eventually get to all of them, but you know, it's gonna be a long time.
It's just one project at a time,
This
that's all
is-
you can do.
This town's been a long time going downhill, now it's gonna take a long time to go back uphill, and you can't do
Katie,
it all.
what do you got?
I'm gonna be just a pain in the butt for a minute. Down there by crop service, I noticed this the other day at the tractor pull when I was walking in between the scale house and the fire department. There is a pretty good sized hole in a culvert down there. Pretty decent size. I can't remember exactly which street, but
That's Otis and Railroad.
yeah, it's pretty good sized hole in the culvert.
okay,
So
I'll
I-
look at it. I
yeah.
haven't seen it.
Thought I'd let you know.
I mean, we just do it what you need, you do what you
Just
can.
do what you
Wanna
can
get
every
there.
day.
Yep.
Unless other people wanna help volunteer, step it up, and you know.
And I'll get Maggie to volunteer.
I volunteer all the time.
Me too, when I have more time.
Maggie, you
Yeah, that's great.
So what?
volunteers tribute. I don't know if you
Is
wanna
there
comment
anything
names.
else